I want to talk about that Man City penalty. I want to talk about Luton. I want to talk about Newcastle and can they get into the top six? But Wolves fans, even West Ham fans, I feel that when a bad decision happens like that, and if you haven't seen it, it's 2-1 to West Ham. They've come back from 1-0 down. We're deep into stoppage time. The cross comes in. I think it's Kilman for Wolves, heads it basically in the top corner. There's a Wolves player stood in front of Fabianski. They review it on VAR, and I think they say he's interfering and he's offside. I don't know whether well, if you know what Stretch Armstrong is, you know what I mean. You know the guy who can stretch his arms out. For anybody a little bit older, remembers Go-Go Gadget, Inspector Gadget, who could stretch his arms out. Fabianski could have had those arms and he wouldn't have saved it. He's never getting anywhere near it. So for me, there's no interference because the goalkeeper can't save it. So it's a goal for Wolves. It's a terrible decision. But West Ham are the victims as well. West Ham have got every right to celebrate that win. They haven't ruled the goal out and they've had a lot of things go against them. The bottom line is this is on the officiating. It's not on West Ham and it's not on Wolves and it's not acceptable. Right, let's get into your calls. And I'm glad to say we've got Charlie on, who is a Wolves fan, which is exactly where I want to be starting, really. You felt you deserved a point minimum, Charlie. You've had a few of these decisions this season. What are your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, just about that. I'm not saying like Wolves played outrageous or anything or doing anything like that, but to walk away from that is disappointing when it's not your team costing you the points at the end of the day. It's the VAR decisions, and you don't want to be going to football games, scoring a goal, celebrating it like we did, and then next minute you've got to wait for a VAR decision. Like, when has it ever happened that a ref has had to go up and look at VAR for an offside at the monitor? When has that ever happened? I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, it must be absolute torture for you and the fans in the ground and the grounds all around the country as well. I mean, I had a West Ham mate of mine who messaged me and he said, look, you know, they're never going to fix VAR. He said, look, whether it's a goal or not, we've had it happen to us a lot before. Wolves have had a lot this season as well. But what they don't realise is that you can't celebrate a goal anymore. And especially a stoppage time winner. You sat there, you've celebrated it, and then you see the referee go over. The heart must sink, and it's just killing the game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like you say, you don't know with VAR, you can't celebrate a goal. But like, for me, I've always thought a corner, surely you can celebrate it because what's the chances it's going to be offside if there's not a foul? And then obviously it's been offside, and it's just a nightmare. Not saying that Wolves deserved all the points because I feel like West Ham second half really stepped it up. I feel like Wolves really controlled the first half, and yeah, I do feel like David Moyes got the tactics right there. Not saying that Wolves deserved to get a point or anything, but I feel like to walk away and say your team hasn't cost you the point, it's the officials. I think it's poor from the refs, and obviously I think Gary O'Neill's took it very well. He always does, but I feel like it's happened one too many times, and because it's not happening to a team like Liverpool, for instance, for a big team, then it doesn't get talked about enough because I feel like this time tomorrow people will breeze over it and no one will be speaking about it.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Absolutely fantastic start to the show. Keep those calls coming in. 03717 223344. What do you think about the officiating in the Premier League? Will it be swept under the carpet and forgotten, like Charlie said? Is it, destroying the game? I certainly think it is. I think this season's been absolutely riddled with it. I think, you know what? I remember at the start of the season, Wolves had about at least three. I mean, I was looking at the league table there. Wolves are currently in 11th place with 42 points. I can think of at least 6 points that Wolves have been robbed of this season. And if you give them 6 points, they're above Man United. They're sixth. And I think Charlie's right to a certain extent. Because it's Wolves, it won't get the headlines it deserves. And if you haven't seen it tonight, I would implore that you do go and watch it because the corner comes in, Kilman heads it in the top corner, Fabianski stood centre of goal. Yes, there's a Wolves player in front of him, but he's never saving it in a million years. And how they can go and look at that and go, he's interfering. It's not, no one's using the word corrupt, but what we are using is the word incompetent. It's just unacceptable. And, I know Charlie said, well, if it was Liverpool, people would make more of a fuss about it. It doesn't matter whether you're Liverpool or Wolves. I mean, look, Liverpool should have had a penalty for McAllister. Liverpool had a goal that was genuine, ruled out when it was onside. So there is no barrier to this. It's just constant all the time, and the inconsistency. That's not about inconsistency. That's just about bad interpretation of the rule. But the inconsistency is a problem as well. We saw a soft penalty for Madueke in the last minute against Man United on Thursday. The very next Premier League game, you see a more obvious penalty when Vardiel pulls Eze to the ground, no penalty. And it's the inconsistency is what fans want, and we're just not getting it. It's just not good enough. And of course, we've seen a penalty tonight for Arsenal, which, look, I think it was a penalty. I'd love to get some perspective from that, from maybe Brighton fans or non-Arsenal fans. What were your thoughts? But I actually think at first I didn't think it was a penalty, but on reflection, I think it was. I think he does get a bit of the ball, but I think he deprives Jesus of the opportunity to go past him, and I think they probably did get it right.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.